Welcome to the Irn-Cru podcast, an NFL podcast made in Scotland by NFL lovers. This is the AFC West season preview, and I'm your host, Keith McGinty. I am delighted to say that I'm joined by some special guests this evening, and we've got one tired old crew member joining us a wee bit later on to discuss the West. I've got a good friend of mine on loan or due a free agent from the 90 Minutes Cynic podcast. It's Ian Duggan. Ian, how are you?
Hi, good evening, Keith. Yeah, I'm very good. I'm in the middle of a week off. I watched the Raiders and the 49ers on Sunday night. Um, we can talk about that as we get to it. I don't know that we learned an awful lot, but yeah, no, looking forward to this. Starting off in the AFC version of the West, and then yeah, moving over to the NFC later on. So no, looking forward to it.
I think we will get to the 49ers a wee bit later on. We'll talk about that. It's like it's just like a boil. You just need to lance it, really, don't you? To lance it, and it
We'll
wasn't
get
very
to
pretty
that.
at all.
We'll get to that. Listen. He's going for a fourth. If you guys want him, you can have him for a fourth. He's
There we go.
he's no good.
That's
We'll talk. We'll
even high.
get to that later on.
Even high. Also joined by Sai. Sai, how are you, my friend?
Very well. It's great to be here. I've been following the pod for a while, and finally I'm here on a big stage. I do love a good NFL chat. I'm a Seahawks fan, but I also do like talking to other fans and hearing their opinions about how things are going or how the season's gonna go. And it's all part of the fun.
Right,
So
we're delighted to have you on, my friend. As I said, you've been one of the earlier adopters of the Gridiron Crew. You've been following us from the very beginning, and we've been very keen to get you on, especially as you know far more about the Seahawks than I do, and I don't want to embarrass myself any more than I do in a weekly occurrence on the podcast. So, no, I appreciate you taking the hit and coming to tell us all about everything that's happening up in the wet city of Seattle. We're going to start with Ian. We're going to start with the in the AFC West. It's going to be an interesting division this year, and we're going to start with the Raiders. Now, Ian, you yourself are a San Francisco 49ers fan, something we'll talk about
Yes.
in the next pod, which everyone will hear on Sunday. But today, you've been tasked with heading to Vegas and finding out everything that's happening there.
Well, and you know it could be good research come next February because of course Allegiant Stadium is where somebody is heading to from the NFC. So yeah, the Raiders are in, I guess, kind of an interesting spot. Um, Josh McDaniels coming in last year. I think you're still sitting with a set of expectations that are really pretty low.
Mm-hmm.
The AFC West is stacked. Well, it's stacked at the top with two absolute giants. We're going to come on to, but we've, you know, the Raiders are really sort of struggling for relevancy. So, you know, I guess the key sort of moves that have taken place over the last 6 months, Derek Carr has moved on. So he is a Saint now, and very interesting to see how he does down there. So we have um I don't know like how far I go with this. He could be like the most handsome man in all of sport.
Oh,
Put it out there.
you're coming from a biased position there with his replacement is this year.
Garoppolo, I mean, he is such a good-looking boy. I was in America last summer, and he advertises Subway, and like basically the whole thing is just that Jimmy could sell anything with his face. So yes, you kind of you've got Jimmy under center. There was a big drama with his contract. There were clauses inserted at the last minute that essentially allowed the Raiders to void the whole thing, depending what happened with his foot injury. He did not start the season on IR, so he is there. He is the QB1. So, but they've got sort of more drama in terms of Josh Jacobs, and he is being a good union man from the running back union, and he is refusing to take the franchise tag. The franchise tag for the running backs is just doing its own version of an Arizona Cardinals season. We'll get to that later on. So he's kind of he looks like he might be willing to do the full sit out and see how we got on. So
I wonder, just when you were mentioning the inserts into the contract for Jimmy G, you've got to respect that. Was that by the Raiders that were inserting them? Because Jimmy G moving to Vegas, a lot could go wrong. It would make the hangover look tame.
Well, and you know, and again, we'll come on to this a bit later, but Jimmy G's general health is probably the thing that Kyle Shanahan got most exasperated with him about. Like, actually, when he was healthy, he had a good record. He was never a great quarterback, but actually, when he was there, he was good enough to get you to divisional games and beyond. He was never going to win a ring. So yes, you've got this Jacob situation. You've got McDaniels still there, but I'm not certain that the fans are convinced. They've the free agency gone and got Jacoby Myers and Devontae Adams is still there. So they've got some talent. They've got some good pieces.
Yeah.
It doesn't really add up to an awful lot of anything. But you never know. It could go beautifully. But when you've got 6 divisional games like against these teams, it's a hell of an ask for them.
That certainly is.
Yeah, it's always whenever you've got new guys coming on board, there's quite a lot of experience on that team, and it's gonna take some time for them to learn how to play with each other. And I think this is where, you know, really highly experienced players, kind of their personalities and their egos, right? They know their stars. They've got a track record behind them. They're not maybe fighting as hard as some of the rookies coming into the league who are, you know, just trying to make a name for themselves with every play. And so it's always interesting to look at how the team chemistry evolves. I mean, can the coaching and the staff really bring these guys and make them work together? Because we know there's talent in there. But the other thing, of course, is whether they can stay healthy and deliver, which is important.
One of the players who left the Raiders, of course, was Darren Waller. Kind of had a wee bit of falling out with McCarthy. I think it was McCarthy wasn't invited to the wedding and kind of took it personally. Sent him to New York to the Giants for I think it was the 100th pick that they got, 100th third round pick, 100th overall, for Darren Waller. So he was a bit injury prone, but he was still a big target, and it would have been a good one for Jimmy G to have. Looking at it now, they've got Austin Hooper, who's joined the Raiders as well. A big target, good one maybe to have on your fantasy team, because you would imagine he'll be getting the most of the picks, the passes there from Jimmy G if it's heading for the tight end. But really the big one there is going to be Devontae Adams. He's the main target for the team.
I mean, he is legit. Like he is, you know, a superstar, and they got him tied down. But it's a big ask, and you know, they were kind of supposedly between Aaron Rodgers and Jimmy G. Why do you pick Jimmy G? But unless you've got a sister that you're trying to marry off or something, you know, I think he's happily partnered up. But yeah, like I mean, and I get it. Rodgers brings his own set of issues, and he's a lot more money, but yeah, bit of a mad decision.
It really was, and you would have thought that he would have wanted to link up. Rodgers loves linking up with former teammates.
Well, that's it.
Yeah,
I mean, the thing is, like, it's that Belichick style. He fits straight in. He's worked with McDaniels previously, so yeah, I guess he's a trusted pair of hands. But yeah, as I say, if he stays fit, you could get a positive outcome. But as I say, with 6 divisional games like that, it's a hell of an ask.
As you say, he's not a bad QB. He's just too safe. He's a bit too safe.
Yeah.
I
think, and he never, and
he's
always got an. Yeah, he's always got an interception in him. It's just, yeah.
There was a comment this week about someone from the 49ers organization or something saying that, Jimmy G is probably the best QB that they had at the Niners in like a decade or something like that. So he does seem to have respect from where it's coming from. From
so I think
people. So
so I can't remember but statistically, like you can make any story out of statistics. He's only behind Steve Young in terms of, I think it's not win percentage, but it's maybe pass percentage. He's a better quarterback than Montana on a couple of stats.
On paper,
doesn't quite add up in many other ways. But yeah, I mean he's
it's a big gamble for them, gambling city, but he does have that experience. He's been around the league long enough. Maybe they're just needing that old head on that team. He can get a good link up with Adams, Josh Jacobs, and Swallows a contract that he's.
Let's not forget his 31, right? So his 31, next year he'll have been in the league for 10 years. He's got more to give if he can look after himself, of course, and still be available and fit to play.
Yeah.
So
we were talking.
I was just going to ask about the draft picks.
I was going to say. So Tyree Wilson was the number 7 pick at edge, but I'm going to go deeper. So as I say, watch the 49ers and the Raiders, and essentially blowout win for the Raiders. I think that they turned up really wanting to win. 49ers basically didn't play any first teamers. But the quarterback, Aidan O'Connell, played a really incredible game. And when you compare him to Trey Lance, he's played played more college football than Trey Lance has played, and because Lance didn't really play much at college, and he hasn't played much in the NFL. So O'Connell was like, and you kind of wondered, is there kind of a succession thing? Like, are they trying to, everybody's trying to draft a Brock Purdy, and actually he looked brilliant, like really, really impressive.
He did. He looked really assured, and he was slinging it as well. It was just that there wasn't just the long passes into plenty of space. It was passes into tight areas, and he was really zipping them in. It was a sure, confident performance for the young guy. They've also drafted the tight end from Notre Dame, Michael Mayer, 6'4", 265 pounds. Another good signing for them. It was an area that they would need to improve on, especially with Waller leaving. So you can see that being a positive for them. It should get some time, but as the saying goes, it takes a couple of years for tight ends to really find their feet, especially in the league. So it'll be a good year for him to learn the ropes. Anyone else really of note?
nobody that's kind of like springing out from a sort of draft perspective. As I say, it is about how he starts to weave together um, some really exceptional pieces and some more average pieces.
Yeah.
And how do you make a whole out of that?
So where do you think that the Raiders need to really focus on improving this season coming?
Yeah, so I think defensively, again, they need to be more than the sum of their parts. 49ers and Raiders had a really good, I think it was week 17. Was it Stidham, the backup quarterback came in for Carr when Carr was dropped, and it was an insane game. And actually, if that defense had got a couple of stops, everything was kind of clicking on offense for them. So I think, yeah, defensively, you still got a relatively new defensive coordinator there, so that really probably is the key. And then keeping Jimmy fit and trying to resolve this situation with Jacobs, because if not, then everybody's down on running backs at the minute. But you lose a guy like Josh Jacobs, that's absolutely huge. He's exceptional. Yeah. So yeah, that they've kind of got a few puzzles to solve, and then still facing an incredibly difficult schedule because of the divisional games, particularly.
As you say, even on that side of the defence, though, they've got Max Crosby, and Max Crosby's skills will gash young players up and down the league. So he's a terrific talent, and someone that I don't know if you watched the quarterback documentary on Netflix, and how
I did, yeah.
right up against Mahomes and gave no quarter at all, and he was a wee bit dirty at times. That guy just wants to win, and you can kind of need that in the team just to change the culture. And it's not a party town; they're there to actually perform, and they can do something special when the black and silver. Sorry, anything you want to add there?
Yeah, I've got trauma from Josh Jacobs' run in the Seahawks game last season. I have to say, incredible. I won't be surprised if he has more highlight reels in the coming season. And so there clearly is talent, and they just need to put it to work.
Ian, have you had a look at the schedule for the team?
So I think
Raiders.
I think your standout games, like they play the Broncos week 1 and week 18. That's going to kind of set the tone for me. Like if they can go and punch the Broncos in the mouth, then all of a sudden things start to open up. If and we'll come on to the Broncos in a second. If Russell Wilson starts to fire and Peyton starts to show that he can have that influence on them, they then got Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Chargers, Green Bay. It's a nasty schedule. They've got and they play the AFC East, so they've got Miami, and it's a hellish schedule.
The thing that stands out to me as well is that they don't have the bye until week 13. So they're not
it's really late. Like that, I think that's as late as it can be, isn't it? Like so, yeah, it's tough.
And then for the last 4 weeks then of the season, they've got the Vikings, and the Chargers, the Chiefs, Colts, and then the final game, as you said, against the Broncos. That's
I guess that sort of run, Green Bay, New England, Chicago, kind of depending on how they're doing, like that's it. But then you've got the Chargers before, and then the Lions afterwards, and everybody's hot on the line. There's just that's pretty much the only run of 3 games where you're like, quite fancy that. Everything else is is tough.
Yeah.
No,
Standout game for you anywhere?
standout game.
Yeah.
I mean, as I say, I think week one is absolutely critical for them. So
Really
they go to Denver and let's see what they're made of, because yeah, Josh McDaniels might not see week 13 because there's not many W's.
Absolutely not. I feel like it just sets the standard for the season and how it's going to pan out for them. Okay, one thing we do in the Gridiron Crew is we're looking for a player who's going to absolutely crush it this season. Who is that for you for the Las Vegas
Yeah,
Raiders?
so I think if Jimmy G stays fit, like Devontae Adams is an absolute weapon to use. I still think that before the end of the year, you're going to see O'Connell potentially start. There is another backup QB, but um, I think in terms of succession and the likely, I don't know, maybe they're going to prove everybody wrong, and this is going to come back to haunt me. But yeah, I think you might see some time for him because he was genuinely very impressive. And yeah, if Jimmy G stays fit, who knows? But yeah, Devontae Adams is massive. But they need to get to some sort of agreement with Josh Jacobs, otherwise, yeah, it's been a long time since we've had a proper sort of full blown sit out.
Mm-hmm.
Ossie Omenura always talks about when he's at the Giants, and it's,
Can I actually say
it's
about
not good for
$50,000 a day that they can get fined up to as well?
fine.
It's only so long.
Yeah.
So long that you can. And I heard on one of the other podcasts that they can't recoup that. They can't get that back. I suppose if they do sign a contract eventually, but the longer it goes on, can you see him getting traded? Josh Jacobs get traded elsewhere, or do the Raiders just? I think they can tag him for another 2 years as well. Do they just run him into the ground?
It's really difficult. I think it's the whole market with running backs at the minute is that they don't feel that they're getting their value. It's a real sort of difficult quirk of the collective agreement, that collective bargaining, that
Okay.
lets them.
Well then, thanks very much, Ian. That was comprehensive on the Raiders there. Si, I'm coming to you next for the Las Vegas Chargers. Bit of a renaissance possibly for the Chargers this season. What do you think?
Yeah, so I mean, the Chargers had a 10-7 record last season, and the only team better than them in their division was the Chiefs, and hey, Super Bowl winners. I can't really complain too much about not topping the division. I think they do have great potential. Most importantly, in the offseason, they've added, they've re-signed Justin Herbert to a massive 5-year, $262 million contract. Yeah. So that's a sign that they're committed, that this is the guy who's going to lead them to the promised land, and top the Chiefs and top everyone else who gets in their way to get that Super Bowl. I think there's like many other teams, there's work to be done. Your team sports are not focused on the abilities of one person, and so it's going to take everybody to step up to actually make it happen. Now, for me, I do think they have potential. They're not great, but in their division, I can see them coming in the same second position at the end of the season, potentially, unless something really bad happens to the Chiefs, right? So overall, I think they've got a good chance. And hey, this is the NFL, right? Yes. So being at the top doesn't guarantee anything. There could be an underdog story developing here. And let's face it, they've managed to retain a few of their big names from the last season going into the next. You've got folks like Khalil Mack, their linebacker, and got various other pieces, Keenan Allen, and these guys are just you've seen what they can do, and they're not done yet.
Yes.
So again, I do think getting in a good place for each game. Had a look at their schedule. It's not exactly a walk in the park. There are going to be some challenges there, but also it's going to be a chance to prove themselves.
I just got to say, I remember the contract coming through at the time for Herbert, and it was round about the time you had Danny Dimes going, the Ravens as well, getting the deal done there. And it's incredible how just the one stone falling, and that started off the other really talented QBs, because I think Herbert has that chance, that potential to actually elevate himself up into maybe just below the Josh Allen and Burrow tier.
I mean, he's elite essentially. I mean, and he's now until Burrow signs his deal, Herbert is the best paid quarterback in the NFL, and it is rightly so. But when you see the teams that are going all in on quarterbacks like that, they're generally speaking getting Super Bowls or certainly getting to divisional games, and that's the challenge with the Chargers is actually how do they turn again some amazing pieces into that, taking it to the next level. Because
I think for Brandon Staley, the big thing this season is try to keep these team fit. Keenan Allen missed big chunks of the season last year. Herbert himself wasn't fully fit for
Joey Bosa was out as well. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So and I think that's the thing, right? If you look at how Herbert performed last season, it was not as good as the season before that, right? We've got to remember this guy, the 6'6" quarterback, so he's a tall guy. He was the offensive rookie of the year in 2020. So he's a huge talent, and they wouldn't throw a massive deal like that on him if they didn't think that he was capable of living up to the expectations.
Yeah, totally.
Right? So clearly his leadership and everything that he brings should be able to bring the other guys together and get them to where they need to be.
What about in the draft? How did the Chargers do in the draft?
So the first round, they did have the 21st pick. They went with a wide receiver by the name of Quentin Johnston from TCU. And clearly this is a sign that they need to give Herbert more options, right? More weapons, and also clearly just make sure that even when guys are injured, you still have capable enough players to carry the load and still get you the wins that you need to carry forward. The other interesting pick they had was a linebacker by the name of Thule. Again, the draft is one of those things. Within a couple of years, you can tell which picks were good and which ones were not. But up until they actually get actual playing time and showing what they can do, then it's like a gamble in a sense. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how they get on with that. They did also add another linebacker as well in the third round and another receiver. So they do seem to be beefing up the areas where they feel they've struggled or have had weaknesses. and so time will tell, right? We already see the first preseason game that they won, which is actually a great opportunity to see the rookies and the new faces in the team getting some playing time. And they won that, right? So, can they give them a bit of the rookies a bit of experience, get them in there quick and hopefully get them winning.
As you said, they did a pretty impressive record last season, just losing out to the Chiefs, and we're joined by Big Chief. Studs has joined us now. Hi Studs, how are you?
Yeah, not bad, mate, not bad. Apologies for being late. The joys of kids' football training and stuff like that. So,
But we're just discussing the LA Chargers and talking about their draft choices there. Just thinking it now, Si, is what do you think that they really need to focus on and improving this year? Has it been some of the draft choices to get their secondary players to give them a chance where the injuries do kick in, that they're still going to have that bit of continuity there?
Yeah. So I think their benchmark, if you like, is the Chiefs, right? They have to do everything better than the Chiefs to actually be where they want to be. And they just have a model. They have to find their own style, right? You don't want to do copycat and try and emulate the Chiefs formula. You've got to find your own and make sure that everyone's comfortable with it. And watching, for example, all the QB calls, it's like a whole essay, right? So making sure that they've got plays that they're all comfortable with, that they've rehearsed over and over, and hopefully will be good enough against the teams they'll be playing against. So yeah, I personally think in a one-liner they just have to be better in every way than the Chiefs, on offense, defense, special teams, everywhere.
That's a dodo, Studs.
Yeah, well, I think we've seen that a few years ago when the Chiefs had the infamous Legion of Zoom as wide receivers. You've seen everybody trying to kind of catch up with them and get these track stars at wide receiver to try and kind of keep up, and then realised that wasn't working, so they've been trying to kind of change it up. But I think what Si's saying, it's the Chiefs are the benchmark. I know we're going to kind of come on to the Chiefs in a minute, but they are the benchmark for their division first and foremost, but also the whole of the AFC, and everybody's kind of trying to kind of catch them for that standpoint. So, regarding the Chargers, it's been close games with the Chiefs the last couple of seasons as well. So it's not as if they've been blowouts; they've been tight since Herbert kind of come in and obviously made his debut, his very first game. I think it went to overtime when he replaced, was it Tyrod Taylor with the infamous injection in the ribs. So they are getting closer, certainly, but it's not as if they're blowout games.
Yeah.
So, any standout games for you in the start off, as Ian mentioned, that they're playing the AFC East, so they're starting at SoFi Stadium against the Dolphins. Any games really stand out in their schedule for you?
Yeah, the divisional games against the Chiefs are always interesting, and they've got two of those. So week 7 and 18, they'll be facing up, and that to me will be a really good measure of how they're doing. I think the other matchup I'd really like to see how they get on is against the Bills. They'll be taking on the Bills on week 16. It'll be interesting again to see what they can do there, and whether they've got what it takes. So all in all, there's some good games there, and we just have to wait for them to show us what they've got.
Fantastic. And who do you feel is going to be the standout player? Who's going to really drag the team on this year? Who's going to really step up? Who's going to crush it for the LA Chargers?
I think the the first man that comes to mind, Justin Herbert, right? You'd really want to see that he's actually worth that huge contract they've thrown at him. So he's got a lot to kind of show, but also not just the way he plays, but also his leadership of the team. Getting chemistry. You'll hear about all these great quarterbacks where they kind of phone up all the other guys in the team or spend time with them, and on and off the field, he's got to be that leader of that team, and they've with as they get better, then the confidence in him will grow, and hopefully that will motivate everybody else to play their part. So I'm really keen to see what the end result of that will be.
Absolutely. Guy, thank you very much. And that was the FC West LA Chargers. So I'm going to switch up a bit. You must have had a wee easy night tonight, but I'm going to come to you next. Your beloved Kansas City Chiefs. Another quiet summer for the Chiefs. Has there been much changes to personnel, to coaching?
I think in terms of kind of coaching staff, the obvious one's Eric Bieniemy, stepping out of the OC role and heading to Washington. Obviously feeling it. I think people maybe feel that Andy Reid's doing more of the play calling than him, so he's wanting a chance to kind of step out the Chiefs' shadow, if you like, and see how he goes. And it really wouldn't surprise me if he's the Washington Commanders head coach come, say, maybe like Thanksgiving or something like that. To be honest, I think Ron's in a bit of a hot seat just now.
Do you know, I would normally, I'm probably right on this one, but there's been reports that the players are not happy with his coaching style. He's been chowing them out a wee bit too much, it seems. He's went to complain, but the Commanders head coach had actually mentioned this in a press conference, and throwing him under the bus. Seems a wee bit like this guy's coming out to take your job, and he's just been a wee bit nippy about him, just trying to undermine him before he even gets there.
Yeah, I think he's well known as being that kind of hard nosed coach. I think he's a former running back, so he's very much used to the kind of rough and tumble of an offense, and he kind of tries to put that across into his plays. He's came for the Chiefs. He's been working under Andy Reid for all these years, so he's demanding the best of his players. I know it rubs some people up the wrong way, and LaShawn McCoy's been very vocal in podcasts that he's not, let's just say, he's not a fan of Eric Bieniemy, to put it politely. But Ron Rivera kind of threw him under the bus a little bit at Washington, but then swiftly tried to backtrack the next day and said that it had been taken out of context, and he's all for him being harder on the players and things like that. But again, he's trying to get the best out of these players for me, so let's kind of see how he does out of Kansas and see how he does in Washington.
How was your draft?
Sorry, I was going to jump onto the kind of outgoings. So we've got there was quite a few kind of players leaving after obviously Bieniemy. So some of the kind of high note ones. Obviously you've got Hardman joining the Jets, Juju joining the Patriots, both of them heading to the AFC East. Super Bowl winner Melvin Gordon, who done absolutely nothing for us rather than sit back and watch. He's away to the Ravens, but again, I don't see that as a big loss. Ronald Jones joined the Cowboys again, saw him a couple of times last year. Andrew Wiley off of the line, he's away to the Washington Commanders as well. He got a pretty decent payday off of them. And again, one of the ones just for Brian purely is Mr. Anything is Possible. We sadly lost him to retirement this year as well. And a couple of other ones, the other OBJ, Orlando Brown Jr. joining the Bengals and crossing that divide. It'll be interesting to see if that's going to be a big loss on that line. And then a couple of one of my kind of personal favourite ones that I was sad to see goes Kalen Saunders. He joined the New Orleans Saints as well, and I was glad to see he got a payday off that one as well, because he's a player I liked watching on that D line. Then we had Juan Thornhill and one of the kind of ones that probably influenced our draft, we lost Frank Clark this year. We didn't re-sign him. He joined Denver. And I think that kind of led nicely into our draft picks. It certainly influenced, I think, our first round pick in Felix, and I'm going to try not to murder this, Anudike Uzama.
Uzama, yeah.
So, hometown boy from Kansas State, sorry. So he's going to be, he's an edge rusher. So for me, I seen that as just a direct replacement for Frank Clark. So it'll be interesting to see how he does.
Speaking of Frank Clark, he's one of the Seattle regrets. The kind of player that goes away and just does so well in the other team, and you kind of wish you'd have kept them around. So it was great.
He always seemed to kind of hit form at the right time for the Chiefs side. So he was literally, you seen him come alive in the last kind of couple of weeks of the season and into the playoffs. You really see them coming alive, and obviously the Super Bowl, we start to get those pressures on Jalen Hurts, joining Justin Fields and Jalen Hurts there. So yeah, you certainly see them in the playoffs, kind of getting those pressures and off the edge, and I think it'll be interesting to see if we miss them, because I'm quite excited to see. We've got two young edge rushers now, and George Karlaftis, who we drafted last year, and then Felix this year. So it'll be interesting to see. Another into the second round, we drafted one of the probably camp darlings as well, and Rashee Rice out of SMU, wide receiver. So again, obviously lost Juju.
We've lost you as well. Rice is one that interests me as well. Oh, he's back.
Brought in Rashee Rice. So he's seems to be a kind of contested catch guy, and I think Pat Mahomes was working him out pre-draft as well. So Pat Mahomes quite likes him. It'll be interesting to see as a rookie how quickly he's put into the starting lineup, or whether he's going to have to wait behind Tony and Sky Moore and MVS to kind of maybe get his shot and maybe an injury, which we all know Tony's more than capable of picking up an injury or two. Does he step right in there? So I'm interested to see how he does. Other than that,
Rice seems to be one that's it's a bit of pace. Go for a wee bit of deep ball as well, and as you say, it's a big fella, he can contest it as well. Something that he's kind of missing for all. It doesn't seem to be like a star wide receiver that you've got, and Pat Mahomes elevates everybody that he plays with. Plus he's got Kelsey. I think it's important that you get someone like Rice that can really stretch the game for you.
Since we lost Hill was probably that field stretch, and I think MVS was maybe expected to be that when he came in last year, and he showed flashes and the kind of, especially against the Bengals when we literally had no receivers by the end of that game, and MVS stepped up and it was Mahomes' go-to guy in the AFC Championships game. So it will certainly be interesting to see if Rice can step up, then it could prove to be an absolute steal in the second round.
You guys won the Super Bowl last year. You guys won the Super Bowl. Is there anywhere that you can improve? Is there anywhere that you'd like to see the team get better?
It's kind of hard to say improve when you're coming off the back of a Super Bowl win. To be honest, I think. Again, you look at the last sort of 4 years, and it's been Super Bowl win, Super Bowl loss, AFC Championship loss, Super Bowl win. Since Mahomes, and again, even when Mahomes became a starter, it was AFC Championship loss to the Patriots the season before. So we do seem to be always there or thereabouts. And I think as long as you've got Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes, I think you will always expect to be there or thereabouts, regardless of who your receivers are just now. And I think last season certainly showed that. It was, as I say, receivers were like Juju, MVS, and then Kelsey. We'll go class him as a receiver in that conversation as well. But it was literally you had Kelsey in there, and then it's right. Who else is open? Right, let's go for it. But we also seen a bit of the run game mixed in there as well, and Pacheco coming into his own towards the end of the season, and the likes of Jet McKinnon as well, mixing things up. So for me, as much as I'm sorry to see Frank Clark leave, I think it was probably time for him to kind of move on and is to get a little bit younger on the edge. Purely because we got Karlaftis last year. Frank Clark was probably going to be looking for a pretty decent payday, let's be honest, even though just kind of come off of a very good payday for the Chiefs. I was quite happy to see us kind of draft a little bit younger. And again, I think last year's probably the first time we've seen Spags really utilise his rookies in his defence. He's never been one to kind of do that. And we've seen the likes of Watson and McDuffie. Again, guys really kind of come into their own on that in that secondary, and hopefully these are guys that after having a season with us can push on and keep growing in there as well. So yeah, no, I'm excited to see, and I think the Chiefs have kind of got a knack of picking up good secondary players later on in the draft, and hopefully we kind of seen that because we picked up a couple of picked up a 4th round DB in Shamari Corner, and in the 7th round we went cornerback as well, and Nick Jones. So we seem to kind of have a knack of grabbing these guys late on and developing them on. So excited to see that as well. And obviously we made a couple of big signings in free agency as well. The main one probably being Joanne Taylor from the Jags, who's going to be a tackle in there. So it's whether he replaces Orlando Brown on that line. All kind of remain to be seen. Is he going to go in at left tackle? The other two kind of big ones, kind of stealing one of the Chargers linebackers, and Drew Tranquil could be interesting as well. And I think the story behind that one, if you've not heard it, is literally when Drew Tranquil hit free agency, apparently Andy Reid just sent him a message when he was going to make his decision and just said, think rings, think red, think Chiefs. So he's trying to kind of influence him that way. And the other big one that we got, again, it was an edge player for the 49ers, who we know last year was a pretty stellar defence. We signed Charles Omenihu for the 49ers, but he's picked up a suspension. Again, you'll certainly know him from divisional games, and same with yourself, Ian. So I think he's picked up a 4-game suspension at the start of the season. So he'll be missing at the start.
Looking at the schedule, you of course get to open the season against the Detroit Lions. Probably seen as handing over of the baton with the way the Lions are improving this past year. But really, there's not very much that's happening until you get to week 14. That's the first real challenge, you would imagine, when the Chiefs welcome the Buffalo Bills to Arrowhead. And then week 17, you've got the Bengals coming to visit as well. It seems to be the big games, the ones that you would imagine would be the real test of the Chiefs will be later on in the season.
Yeah, I would probably. Obviously, you mentioned Flag Day is going to be interesting, and it'll be interesting to see what the Lions do to open the season as well. But that's one that I'd expect. Home game, unfurling the banner, the Super Bowl banner. I think the Chiefs are just going to put on a show. But we've got obviously you've got the Frankfurt game this year against the Dolphins, which I think's quite interesting. The fact that we've kept Tyreek Hill away for Arrowhead for our home game. I know he's had a few things to say about that. But we've got the Eagles as well in week 11. So after we come back from Frankfurt, we come off our bye week and we've got the Super Bowl replay. So I think that could certainly be interesting. Obviously, the Bills you mentioned, and I get the last couple of seasons with the Bills, they've beat us in the regular season, but they just can't seem to beat us in the playoffs. So I'm not overly stressed about that one. And then obviously New Year's Eve over here, we've got, you mentioned the Bengals. They've certainly backloaded the Chiefs' schedule with kind of playoff games, and obviously Si mentioned you've got week 18 against the Chargers as well, so that could potentially have implications for who's winning the division. Hopefully it's done and dusted before it gets to that stage. But yeah, I feel they've backloaded the schedule, and you're seeing a lot of the big games at the back. Yeah. So hopefully it's when we're hitting our stride, that's when we're playing all these teams.
Are you going obvious player for who's going to crush it this year?
That's the thing. There's a lot of options you can go. Really obvious, and say Pat Mahomes and things like that. But I kind of wanted to sort of stay away from that one. And I'm going to go with one of the guys that I've mentioned earlier, coming into his second season off of that edge, and George Karlaftis, and that one there's a signed mini helmet he has. So I'm hoping that he kind of steps up and you see him replace Frank Clark, and we start kind of flying for there as well. The other bit I would like to kind of see is obviously Chris Jones signing a new deal, because I think he's so important to us, and he's probably up there with Aaron Donald in terms of most disruptive players in the league. So he deserves to be paid like him.
You've certainly been ringing our ears all off-season, saying how much he's been overlooked in the group chat, certainly, Studs, about that. So I'd be interested to see just when they get that deal done. I think it will be done. I don't think there's much panic going on there. And
I think Brett Veach has kind of come out and said that after the Super Bowl, the main priority this off-season was the Chris Jones deal. And again, he's re-emphasised that recently. And I know Chris Jones stayed away for training camp, but he's literally, Veach has just re-emphasised the fact that look, both sides want to get a deal done. We're working on it. There's no panic.
Yeah.
I think there's a sort of codependency with Jones and Bosa. Like, I don't think neither one wants to go first, because they both want to set the market. It's like they're going to have to kind of get on the phone with each other and go, right, we're going to go at the same time, because otherwise, like, because Bosa's sitting out for us at the minute as well, and we would rather have them in practice than not, essentially.
Magic, thank you very much, Studs. It's over for me now. I am taking over some duties here, and we did have someone who was coming on to do the Cardinals for the next podcast that you're going to be able to hear, but he was also going to cover the Broncos for us. So Stu, find him on Twitter as Stu, the Kilted Cardinal. He's a wee bit poorly just now. Hope you get better soon, my friend, and we'll definitely get you on the podcast soon. Hopefully hear from him sometime in September. So it's down to me. I've been doing a wee bit of research about the Broncos, everybody's favourite team to laugh at last season. Let's ride. Those Danger Russ adverts for Subway were just comic gold, weren't they? But they seem to have got their act together, and they've got rid of Nathaniel Hackett earlier on in the year. And they took their time, and they courted them, and they got their man, they got Sean Payton. He's their 20th head coach. After, 15 years at the Saints, won the Super Bowl with them in 2009. And he's now the head coach there. Nathaniel Hackett's still on your screens. If you're watching Hard Knocks, you'll see him at the Jets, doing his very own Guess Who, sporting a nice wee tash and goatee, trying to hide his identity after stinking out the place, according to Sean Payton anyway. So that seems to be the big change really there at the Broncos as the new head coach. Payton's brought in a raft of changes there already. He's brought in a new management team. Assistant head coach Mike Westhoff has actually come out of retirement to come and work with him again. Paul Kelly is our assistant head coach to Sean Payton, and brought in a raft of as I said, coaches for the offense. Joe Lombardi's joined them from the Chargers, and some other guys as well. He's just really trying to make his own stamp on the team just now, and he's getting people that he knows that have worked and worked well, even in working in the division, by getting the coach for the Chargers. could see really, even from year one, want to actually make a big push for changing this team, bring them back to the glory days. As for players, let's see, who did we get in? So players that have came in, Mike McGlinchey's joined, the tackle from the Chiefs, is that right?
No, 49ers.
No,
49ers.
49ers it was.
So,
It was 49ers.
so he was kind of, he was a bit of a lightning rod for our fans. He was never sort of good enough as right tackle, and actually he was pretty solid. But I think when it came to it, with everything else we've got on the roster, we just couldn't afford the money he was after, and he got a really good deal with the Broncos. So fair play to him. I think he's a decent pickup.
Frank Clark was the one who's made his way from the Chiefs, as Studge mentioned earlier on there. A big loss for you guys.
Hopefully not. As I said, hopefully we've done enough to replace him with bringing in Charles Omenihu and obviously drafting the rookie and Kalafdis, as I mentioned.
But it's a good signing for the Broncos when they're trying to change their the atmosphere in the camp. He's a good name to bring in, someone that's been around winning for a long time as well. I think it's a good pickup for them as well. A player I really liked last year was Samaje Perine, and he came in for the Bengals. So much so that I made a terrible draft decision, and I took him over Mixon, who had just come off his 60 pointers in the fantasy league for me. I thought he was done after that, so I took Perine, and he didn't play for the rest of the season. But he's a strong, sturdy runner, and I think he'll do well with the Broncos. They also got, let's see, who did they get? They get Brett Mayer in. McManus has left the Broncos. He was always good. I always like to take him as well, because up in the high altitude you could get the kicks that wee bit further. The standard's been set with the first 60-yarder kick of the season.
Just
so that was ridiculous.
I must admit, I'm just on the Broncos side, I'm actually just loving the fact that Si's sitting there with a bucket hat on when they've been banned for the sidelines for the Broncos.
Actually, why is that?
Sean Payton, he came out in an interview in the first pre-season game and said there'll be no sideline interviews, there'll be no bucket hats, there'll be no messing about.
Wow, I'm sure a hat will not be the game changer on the performance.
You never know.
We'll find out.
Yeah. It was the sheer fact Garrett Wilson then loaded up and done a sideline interview with the big massive sunglasses, the bucket hat, and all the chains showing, and he's doing a sideline interview at the Jets. It was very much a dig at Sean Payton, I think.
Well, Sean does like
having these wee digs.
Yeah, Sean does like those caps, the open up here.
The visors.
Yeah, so maybe that they might be in fashion now in Denver. Right?
There we go. For the draft picks, they kind of loaded up in the wide receivers. They took Marvin Mims. They didn't actually have any picks in the first round, so it wasn't until day 2, pick number 63, that took Marvin Mims Jr. from Oklahoma as a wide receiver. I think he can offer them a wee bit of pace, but from what I've been reading, he's maybe a wee bit undersized, so maybe a wee bit of a stretch there, but they're needing some targets there. Injuries have really been a problem last season. They've got some good players already with Courtland Sutton. They just really need some targets for Russell Wilson to be able to get. So he's maybe see if it's a straight pick up, but from what I've been reading, it's maybe a wee bit of a stretch. But you never know. Sean Payton might be able to work his magic there as well. Linebacker, cornerback, safety, and a centre with the other picks in the draft. So nothing really jumping out there. We'll wait and see how they get on.
I think the highlight of the Broncos draft was all the picks that they gave to Seattle. So we're really grateful for that.
Yeah, we are so much so. Especially when they saw that who they could have got in the first round as well. Such a great high position, which we'd never have thought when the trade was actually going through in the first place. So, what do you think they need to improve this season coming? For me, I'm thinking it's got to be Russell Wilson. It's got to be Danger Russ. Can Sean Payton work his magic? He's the shiny beacon of that team, and if you can get him looking more than adequate, because the guy is such a talent. He's won Super Bowl before. He's got to another final within glimpse of getting a second ring. The guy's he's got the experience. He knows what he can do. He just needs to screw the head down. And I think one of the big steps that they did was helping to change the culture. Russell Wilson lost his, I believe he had his own office in the building. That's either gone or get moved down to the basement or something. It's like office space. People just keep coming to take his stapler.
I think he took it away altogether.
Good. Does he really need it? He should be one of the teams, one of the, I think that forced this siege mentality, get this team working together. Can you really have someone above everybody else? I think that kind of goes with the attitude that he had when he was at the Seahawks, trying to get rid of the head coach there and the general manager above him. You can see how it's worked out. I think the Seahawks were right to get rid of him. As it comes to schedule, week 1, I think every team that was said, week 1 kind of sets the standard, how it's going to go for the rest of the year. And the Raiders is who they've got first. Then week 5, I think that's the one that we'll all be looking forward to, especially watching in Hard Knocks the following week or two when they play the New York Jets, especially after the comments that Peyton had. Did anyone catch the comments? What was it he was saying about Nathaniel Hackett?
It was basically blaming Nathaniel Hackett for the utter tyre fire last year is probably the kind of short end of it. So it just laid all the blame at Nathaniel Hackett, nothing to do with Russell. And it's just kind of spiraled for there to Aaron Rodgers doing his best Will Smith impression, but keep my coach out of your mouth, and obviously Garrett Wilson then having a dig. So it's just all kind of snowballing, I think. So
I think for the Broncos, the big thing for them is that they've got week 9 for the bye, and that comes at a really, really good time for them. It's right in the middle of the season. Depending on how the first half's gone, it gives them a chance to regroup and go again. They may have a wee change of quarterback, depending on how well Russell Wilson's been doing. It can be a reset for them then, or just give them a chance to recover, recuperate, and go again. You get a big push for the final part of the season.
Yeah,
so
I think with the Broncos last season, from the sidelines, there was frustration from the players, right? And it seems that some of that, or most of that, was directed towards Wilson, right? If everyone feels they're pulling their weight and offensively they're just not scoring, they're not winning games, then of course suddenly the chemistry starts to break down. That's then the beginning of a downward spiral. So hopefully, with the changes that they've had, they can try to start turning things around. Of course, their division's not the easiest to play in, so there will be work to do there. But yeah, they've got no excuses to not have improvements over what they had last season.
Well, I think did one of his offensive linemen no call Russell Wilson a sack of potatoes or something like that? Just said he was built like a sack of potatoes or something. So I think Russ is obviously his high knees in the aeroplane in the way over to the UK last year was they helped him shed the pounds. So I think he's been working in that this year from what I've been hearing.
Yeah, and the high knees seem to have worked, right? Because I think they won the London game, didn't they? So
yeah.
maybe.
Just on the schedule, Keith, I think it will be interesting. You mentioned obviously the bye week they've literally got KC week 6, Green Bay 7, KC week 8. They get into the bye week and then they come back and they're playing Buffalo. So that could be a massive 5 weeks for them. and how their season's going to go.
Yeah, and even bleeding into the following year, if they're just looking for signs of improvement this year, really, aren't they? The player that I think is going to absolutely crush it this year, and I'm not going to go for Russ. I think he will have a much better year. I think Peyton will get the best out of him. A player that's impressed me in his first season is Greg Dulcich, the tight end, and I can see him continuing to grow and get even better and better. I think he'll be a really important player for them, especially if the wide receivers tend to be getting a wee bit injured. I think he can be a real linchpin in the team.
Trust you to pick a guy with fantastic hair, Keith.
If I could draw it like that, wow, that'd be something special. Right, guys, we're going to cut a wee bit short. This one's been a wee bit over. What we'll do is we're going to go for our predictions for the final standings for the teams in the AFC West this year. I think we can all agree that it's going to be the Chargers in 1. Herbert has got to justify that massive new contract of his. Nah, Studs, you happy with it?
This is the version of the season where Mahomes' ankle finally crushes under his own weight.
Yeah,
breaks
that
his
high
back,
ankle
breaks
strain.
the weight of carrying that team for so long.
Yeah. I think we seen Mahomes in one ankle in the playoffs just to give teams a chance. So it's maybe only here we go for a full season.
We'll go for at the top end. The number 1 will be the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
Can't see it. Genuinely, unless Mahomes and Kelsey both get significant injuries, then I think they'll definitely finish top.
Yeah.
Number 2, we're going Chargers then.
Chargers.
I'd be inclined to go Chargers.
I mean, unless something amazing happens with the Raiders, I'm inclined to lean towards Chargers at second. Yeah.
What about third and fourth positions? Going to be the tricky one then. Are the Broncos going to get their act together? Are they going to be able to outdo the Raiders in this one? What do we think?
I think they're going to be more together than the Raiders. Right, now you can decide. That could be a pretty low bar.
I just don't know how you trust Jimmy Garoppolo, and not even so much just Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm not a massive fan of the head coach. I don't really think he's done anything to show that. So, and I'm just having a quick squint at the Raiders' schedule because obviously I was late to the party. Probably look at it and say it's slightly harder than Denver's. But yeah,
I think if you're looking at it, the Broncos are a team in the ascendancy. They are feeling good about themselves. They've got an experienced head coach who is used to winning, who's done the very best he can do. In this league, he's won the Super Bowl. McCarthy, his stock is waning big time. The team is failing as well. This move to the shiny new stadium in the middle of the desert, it's not quite working yet. I think they're maybe needing to start that rebuild a wee bit early. So we'll go for the Broncos at 3 and the Raiders at 4.
Yeah, I think so.
There you go. That's the truest predictions. You can make sure you share your winnings with us at the end of the season. So that'll go ever so well, and it always goes exactly how we plan it to do. Gentlemen, this has been wonderful. This has been the Crew's preview of the AFC West. We will have the preview of the NFC West coming up, and that should be with you on Sunday. You could hear that by the magic of recording. You're going to get right into that after this podcast. Thank you very much for listening. If you're watching live, stay tuned. We'll be back in a few minutes. Sai, thank you very much.
Great. It's great to be here. And really great to hear all your thoughts on what's coming up. So, yeah, thanks for having me.
Fantastic. A pleasure, my friend. Ian, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, Keith.
And Studs, a pleasure as always.
Yeah, as always, mate. Good to chat away.
I'm Steve McGinty. This has been the Gridiron Crew, and just remember the season's just round the corner. But until then, the crew will see you through.